Good evening, and welcome, friends. Tonight, we're embarking our first long journey across Europe, all the way from Paris to the canals of Venice. We'll be driving a MAN TGX Euro 5, a powerful German workhorse, hauling 13 tons of lamb stomachs, specialty ingredients bound for Italian kitchens. It's a journey of 1,214 kilometers through France, Switzerland, and into northern Italy. The route will take us through the Alps, past ancient trade corridors, and into one of the world's most unique cities. The night is calm, the roads are quiet, and ahead of us lie hours of steady driving. Hours to think, to observe, to let the rhythm of the journey wash over us. We'll talk about this truck, about its history and capabilities, about what makes it suited for this kind of work. We'll explore the cargo we're carrying, what it is, where it comes from, and why it matters. And we'll trace our route from the streets of Paris, through the wine regions of Burgundy, past Lyon, through the Alps via the Frejus Tunnel, across the industrial heartland of northern Italy, and finally to Venice, the city built on water. So, settle in, relax, and let's begin this nighttime drive across Europe. We've just left the depot, and as promised, we'll start with discussing our ride today. The MAN TGX, a name that represents decades of German engineering excellence. MAN, which stands for Maschinenfabrik Augsburg Nuremberg, has been building commercial vehicles since 1897. Over a century of innovation, of responding to the changing needs of European haulage. The company's roots trace back even further to the early industrial revolution in Germany, when Augsburg and Nuremberg were emerging as centers of mechanical engineering. By the late 19th century, MAN was producing engines, industrial equipment, and beginning to explore the possibilities of motorized transport. The Maschinenfabrik Augsburg was founded in 1840. In Nuremberg, separate companies were building locomotives and machinery. These firms merged over time, consolidating expertise, pooling resources, becoming the industrial giant we know today. Early MAN vehicles were rugged and simple. They had to be. Roads were poor, mechanics scarce, reliability paramount. These early trucks established MAN's reputation. They worked, they lasted. Operators trusted them. The TGX line was introduced in 2007, positioned as MAN's flagship long-haul truck. The name itself is purposeful. T for truck, G for generation, and X for excellence. It replaced the older TGA series, bringing with it significant improvements in aerodynamics, fuel efficiency, and driver comfort. This particular model, the Euro 5 XXL, represents a sweet spot in modern trucking. Euro 5 emissions standards, implemented in 2008, brought significant improvements in air quality, while still maintaining the mechanical simplicity that many drivers prefer. The transition to Euro 5 wasn't without challenges. Manufacturers had to balance stricter emissions requirements with maintaining power output, fuel economy, and reliability. MAN chose a combination of technologies: exhaust gas recirculation, selective catalytic reduction, optimized combustion, all working together to meet the new standards. 400 horsepower from MAN's inline-6 diesel engine. The TGX Euro 5 offered this power rating in both the 10.5-liter D20 and the 12.4-liter D26 configurations. It's not the most powerful engine MAN offers, but for long-distance work across varied European terrain, it provides an ideal balance of power and fuel efficiency. The D20 engine is remarkably compact for its output, using a two-stage turbocharging system to extract maximum performance from its displacement. The D26, slightly larger, offers similar power with different torque characteristics, sometimes preferred for heavier loads or more challenging terrain. Both engines feature common rail fuel injection, operating at extraordinarily high pressures, precisely metering fuel delivery for optimal combustion. This precision, combined with advanced engine management systems, allows these engines to extract more energy from each drop of diesel while keeping emissions within legal limits. 12 forward gears in the Mayan Tipmatic transmission, an automated manual system that offers the efficiency of a manual gearbox with the convenience of automatic operation. Drivers can override it when needed, perhaps for engine braking down mountain passes, or for precise maneuvering in tight spaces. The Tipmatic represents an evolution in transmission technology. Unlike a traditional automatic with a torque converter, the Tipmatic uses a computer-controlled clutch and gear selection system. This maintains the direct connection between engine and wheels that makes manual transmissions so efficient, while removing the physical effort and skill required for perfect shifts. The system monitors dozens of parameters: engine speed, road speed, accelerator position, even GPS data about upcoming terrain. It predicts what gear will be optimal and shifts accordingly. On long motorway stretches, it keeps the engine at its most efficient operating point. Approaching a hill, it might hold a lower gear a bit longer, maintaining momentum. Descending, it uses engine braking to control speed without excessive use of the service brakes. For drivers, it means less fatigue on long journeys, no constant clutch work in traffic, no deciding which of 12 gears is optimal for every situation. The mental load is reduced, allowing more attention for the road, for other traffic, for safety. The XXL designation refers to the cab, one of the most spacious sleeper cabins available in European trucking. Inside, drivers find a comfortable bed, storage compartments thoughtfully integrated throughout, and enough headroom to stand comfortably. For drivers spending weeks away from home, these details matter enormously. The bed in the XXL cab isn't just an afterthought, it's a proper mattress designed for genuine rest. The sleeping area is separate from the driving area, with a curtain or partition that can be drawn for privacy and darkness during daytime rest periods. Storage is everywhere. Overhead compartments for clothing, underbunk storage for larger items, a small refrigerator for food, cup holders, phone charging points, reading lights positioned so they won't disturb a sleeping co-driver. These seem like small details, but they transform the cab from a workplace into a livable space. Man designed this cab with long-distance comfort in mind. The dashboard layout places all critical information within easy view. Controls fall naturally to hand, and the air suspension system isolates the cabin from road imperfections, creating a remarkably quiet environment at highway speeds. The air suspension does more than smooth the ride. It allows the cab to be leveled when parked, so the bed is horizontal even on sloped parking areas. It reduces the transmission of vibration and noise into the cabin at highway speeds. The cabin of a modern truck like this is quieter than many passenger cars. The seating position is commanding. Large windows provide excellent visibility. The A-pillars are positioned to minimize blind spots. Mirrors are large and well positioned, with additional mirrors for monitoring blind spots along the truck's sides. Everything is designed around the simple reality that a truck driver spends their working life in this seat and needs it to be as comfortable and functional as possible. The TGX also introduced MAN's efficient cruise system, which uses GPS data and detailed topographic maps to optimize gear selection and speed, potentially reducing fuel consumption by up to 5% on routes with significant elevation changes. On a journey like ours tonight, crossing the Alps, this system would be working continuously, planning ahead for climbs and descents. Efficient cruise is predictive cruise control taken to its logical conclusion. Traditional cruise control maintains a set speed. Adaptive cruise control adds radar to maintain following distance. Efficient cruise adds topographic awareness. The system knows the road ahead. It knows where hills are, how steep they are, how long they are. It can make calculations a human driver might not. Is it worth maintaining speed up this approaching hill? Or is it more efficient to let speed drop a bit, then regain it on the descent? Should we change gear now, or in 500 meters? These micro-optimizations add up. Over thousands of kilometers, they save fuel. For fleet operators, this translates directly to reduced operating costs. For the environment, it means less diesel burned, fewer emissions produced. Many European haulage companies chose the TGX for its reliability, its fuel economy, and MAN's extensive service network across the continent. You'll find MAN dealers and service points in every major European city. Essential when your livelihood depends on keeping the wheels turning. Reliability in trucking is measured differently than in passenger cars. A personal vehicle might drive 15,000 kilometers a year. A long-haul truck might cover 200,000. The engine needs to run for thousands of hours without fault. Every component must be durable. Maintenance must be straightforward. MAN built its reputation on this reliability. The TGX is designed for easy servicing. Common maintenance items are accessible. Parts are standardized where possible. Diagnostic systems help mechanics identify problems quickly. Downtime is the enemy of profitability, and MAN engineers know this. The service network matters too. A breakdown in your home city is one thing. A breakdown 800 kilometers from home in a different country is something else entirely. Knowing that there's a MAN dealer who can get you back on the road, who speaks your language, or at least English, who has parts in stock, this provides peace of mind. And so here we are, in this MAN TGX, ready for our journey from Paris to Venice. A truck designed specifically for this kind of work. Long-distance haulage across Europe's diverse roads, from city streets to alpine passes, in all weather, all seasons. This is what it was built for. Tonight's cargo is unusual. 13 tons of lamb stomachs, also known as lamb tripe. In culinary terms, tripe refers to the edible lining of animal stomachs, and it represents one of humanity's oldest approaches to food, using every part of the animal, wasting nothing. This philosophy of total utilization isn't just about frugality. It reflects a relationship with food that modern industrial societies have largely lost. When you raise an animal, slaughter it, process it. There's a responsibility to honor that life by using everything it provides. Every part has value. Every part can nourish. While beef tripe is far more common in Italian cuisine, lamb tripe finds its place in certain regional dishes and specialty preparations. The texture is similar, though lamb tripe tends to be more delicate, with a milder flavor than its beef counterpart. Tripe comes from the stomach chambers of ruminant animals. These are creatures with complex digestive systems, multiple stomach chambers that allow them to extract nutrition from plant materials that simpler digestive systems cannot process. Cows, sheep, goats, all are ruminants. All produce tripe. The different stomach chambers have different characteristics. The rumen, the largest chamber, has a rough texture. The reticulum has a honeycomb appearance. The omasum has a layered structure. Each has slightly different culinary properties. The processing of lamb stomachs is meticulous work. After slaughter, stomachs must be cleaned thoroughly, often through multiple washings and scrubbings, to remove all traces of digestive contents and the inner mucous membrane. They're then blanched, sometimes partially cooked, and prepared for transport. Cleaning tripe is labor-intensive. In industrial processing, it's done in specialized facilities with trained workers. The stomachs first need to be emptied and rinsed. Then they're typically soaked in cold water, sometimes with salt or vinegar, to begin the cleaning process. The inner mucous membrane must be scraped away. This can be done by hand or with specialized equipment. The goal is to reach the muscular layer beneath, which is what we think of as tripe. This muscular tissue is what gives tripe its characteristic texture, slightly chewy with a subtle grain. After scraping, more washing. Sometimes the tripe is blanched, briefly boiled to firm up the texture and ensure cleanliness. At this point, it might be cut into portions or left in larger pieces for the customer to cut as needed. For international shipment like this, the stomachs are typically frozen or held at controlled refrigeration temperatures. This cargo likely represents a contract between French lamb processors and Italian food distributors or restaurants specializing in traditional cuisine. The temperature control is crucial. Tripe is organ meat, highly perishable. Our refrigerated trailer is maintaining a specific temperature throughout the journey. Too warm, and bacterial growth accelerates. Too cold, and the texture can be damaged by ice crystal formation. Modern refrigerated transport, known as reefer units, uses sophisticated systems to maintain precise temperature. Insulated trailer walls, powerful refrigeration units, temperature sensors throughout the load, automated systems that adjust cooling based on ambient conditions. It's technology that allows fresh and frozen foods to travel thousands of kilometers, maintaining quality from producer to consumer. The lamb industry in France is substantial, particularly in regions like the Pyrenees and the Massif Central, where mountain pastures provide ideal grazing conditions. French lamb is exported throughout Europe, prized for its flavor and quality. French lamb benefits from geography and tradition. The mountain pastures offer diverse plant species, herbs and grasses that impart distinctive flavors to the meat. The traditional breeds, adapted to these regions over centuries, produce lamb with characteristics that connoisseurs appreciate. Much of French lamb production is seasonal. Lambs born in early spring graze through summer, reaching market weight in autumn. This natural rhythm, aligned with the seasons, produces lamb when pastures are at their most nutritious. The result is meat with depth of flavor, with the character of the landscape where the animals were raised. What makes offal products like this economically important is their role in complete carcass utilization. When a lamb is processed, every part needs to find a market. The premium cuts go to restaurants and retail, but organs and variety meats serve essential roles in traditional cuisines and in ensuring the economics of livestock production work for farmers. The mathematics of livestock processing is straightforward but crucial. A lamb might weigh 40 kilograms live weight. After slaughter and processing, perhaps 20 kilograms of this becomes conventional meat cuts. The remaining 20 kilograms, bones, organs, hide, must all find markets or represent waste. If only the premium cuts find buyers, the entire operation becomes less viable. But if every component has value, if bones go to stock production, if organs find culinary uses, if hide becomes leather, then the economics improve dramatically. This is why traditional cuisines, which evolved in times of scarcity, developed techniques for using every part of the animal. Historically, offal was food of necessity, the parts that couldn't be preserved as easily as muscle meat, so they were cooked and eaten quickly, often by those who couldn't afford prime cuts. Over time, cultures developed sophisticated techniques for preparing these ingredients, turning necessity into delicacy. In medieval Europe, the wealthy ate the choice cuts. The working classes ate what remained, but they didn't simply tolerate these ingredients. They learned to prepare them well. Slow braising to tenderize tough cuts, bold spices to complement strong flavors. Techniques passed from generation to generation. Somewhere along the way, these dishes transcended their origins. They became cultural touchstones, regional specialties, comfort food, the kind of dishes that grandmothers make, that evoke childhood memories, that connect us to place and history. In modern Italian cooking, tripe is most often beef-based. Trippa alla Romana, trippa alla Fiorentina. These famous dishes traditionally use beef stomach, but lamb tripe serves specialty markets, perhaps destined for restaurants creating unique variations, or communities with specific culinary traditions. Trippa alla Romana, the Roman style, simmers tripe in tomato sauce with mint and pecorino cheese. The mint adds an unexpected freshness. The pecorino brings salty depth. It's a dish of contrasts: the rich sauce, the unusual texture of the tripe, the bright notes from the herbs. Trippa alla Fiorentina, the Florentine version, is simpler. Tomato sauce, perhaps some vegetables, served with bread for soaking up the sauce. It's peasant food elevated through technique and tradition. But these are beef tripe dishes. Our lamb tripe might go to restaurants experimenting with variations, or to communities with traditions of lamb tripe preparation, or to specialty food distributors who serve niche markets across Italy. The preparation is similar regardless of the animal. Tripe is braised slowly, sometimes for hours, with tomatoes, onions, herbs, until it becomes tender and absorbs the flavors of the sauce. Some preparations add white beans. Others include vegetables like carrots and celery, creating hearty, warming dishes. The slow braising is essential. tripe is muscular tissue, inherently tough. Only long, gentle cooking will tenderize it properly. Too hot, and it becomes rubbery. Too brief, and it stays chewy in an unpleasant way. But cooked properly, low and slow, it transforms. As it cooks, tripe absorbs the flavors around it. This is part of its appeal. The tripe itself has a mild taste, slightly mineral, subtly meaty, but it takes on the character of whatever it's cooked with. Tomato, wine, herbs, aromatics. The finished dish tastes of all of these, with the tripe providing texture and substance. The texture of properly prepared tripe is unique, slightly chewy but tender, with a mild flavor that takes well to bold seasonings. It's comfort food, the kind of dish grandmothers make, carrying forward techniques passed down through generations. There's a particular quality to dishes like this. They're not sophisticated in the modern sense. They don't rely on rare ingredients or complex techniques. They're fundamentally simple. Everyday ingredients, time-tested methods. But they carry cultural weight. They connect us to the past, to places, to people. When someone makes tripa the way their grandmother made it, they're doing more than following a recipe. They're maintaining a connection. They're preserving knowledge. They're participating in an unbroken chain of transmission that stretches back generations. This cargo also represents the invisible networks that connect European agriculture to European tables. Lamb raised in French pastures, processed in French facilities, transported across 3 countries to feed Italian communities that maintain their culinary heritage. These networks are complex and often invisible. The farmers who raise the lambs, the transporters who bring them to processing facilities, the workers who process them, the cold storage facilities, the logistics companies, the refrigerated trucks, the distributors in Italy, the restaurants and shops, the cooks, the diners. Each link in this chain is essential. Break any of them, and the system fails. The lamb doesn't reach the table. The farmers can't sell their product. The culinary tradition cannot continue. And our role tonight, driving this truck from Paris to Venice, is one small but crucial link in this chain. We're carrying 13 tons of lamb stomachs, keeping them at proper temperature, delivering them on schedule, so that somewhere in Italy, someone can make the dishes they've always made, in the way they've always made them. It's easy to think of freight transport as merely moving boxes from point A to point B. But every load tells a story. Every shipment connects producers to consumers. Every journey maintains the systems that feed us, that sustain our communities, that preserve our cultures. Our journey begins in Paris, a city that needs little introduction, but whose relationship with transportation and trade stretches back millennia. Paris sits at a natural crossroads, where the Seine River made ancient commerce possible, and where modern highways now radiate outward to all corners of France and beyond. The river was Paris's first highway. Goods moved by boat, people settled along its banks, and a city grew. The périphérique, the ring road surrounding Paris, channels thousands of trucks daily, including ours, as we head southward. This orbital motorway was completed in the 1970s, transforming traffic patterns in the capital. Before its construction, all traffic had to navigate through the city. Now, through traffic can bypass the center entirely. We merge onto the peripherique in the darkness. Even at night, there's movement here. Cars returning from late shifts, trucks like ours, moving goods while the city sleeps, delivery vans positioning for early morning routes. The city never truly stops. It only slows. Leaving the city, we'll follow the A6 motorway, the Autoroute du Soleil, the Highway of the Sun. It's a name that evokes the French love affair with southern destinations, with warmth and Mediterranean culture. The A6 opened in stages through the 1960s and 70s. It was part of France's ambitious motorway expansion, connecting Paris to Lyon, and ultimately to the Mediterranean coast. For millions of French families, this highway represents summer holidays, journeys south to beaches and sunshine. The name, Autoroute du Soleil, captures something essential about the French imagination. Paris, the north, represents work, sophistication, culture. The south represents leisure, warmth, a different pace of life. This highway is the connection, the passage from one world to another. This highway passes through Fontainebleau, where French kings once hunted in vast forests, and through Burgundy, one of France's most celebrated wine regions. Even in darkness, we're passing through landscapes shaped by centuries of agriculture and craftsmanship. The forest of Fontainebleau has been royal hunting grounds since the 12th century. Kings and emperors pursued deer and wild boar through these woods. The palace at Fontainebleau grew to accommodate the court during hunting seasons. Now the forest is protected, a haven for wildlife and hikers, but still bearing the imprint of its royal past. The motorway cuts through the rolling countryside, past the vineyards of Côte d'Or, where some of the world's most expensive wines are produced. Romanée-Conti, Chambertin, names that wine enthusiasts speak with reverence. All from this region we're crossing in the night. Burgundy's wine reputation rests on geology and climate. The soil here, limestone mixed with clay, provides ideal conditions for Pinot Noir and Chardonnay grapes. The climate, continental with oceanic influences, creates growing conditions that stress the vines just enough to produce intensely flavored fruit. The vineyards we're passing, invisible in darkness, are often tiny. Individual plots might be only a few hectares. Some of the most prestigious vineyards are measured in acres, not square kilometers. This fragmentation is historical. Inheritance laws divided properties among children, generation after generation, until ownership became extraordinarily complex. But this small scale allows for obsessive attention to detail. Every vine is known. Every harvest is handpicked. Winemakers can respond to the specific character of each vintage, each plot, sometimes even each row of vines. This is what makes Burgundy wines so distinctive and so expensive. Near Beaune, the landscape begins to hint at changes to come. The terrain rises slightly, roads begin to curve more, preparing us for what lies ahead. Beaune itself is the wine capital of Burgundy. Its medieval hospital, with its distinctive tiled roof, has become iconic, and its wine auction each November sets prices for the region. Further south, we approach Lyon, France's second largest city, positioned at the confluence of the Rhône and Saône rivers. Lyon has been a trading hub since Roman times, when it was called Lugdunum, a critical junction in the empire's road network. The Romans understood geography. They built cities at strategic points where rivers met, where routes crossed, where trade naturally concentrated. Lyon was one of their key foundations in Gaul. From here, roads led north to Paris and the Channel coast, south to the Mediterranean, east toward the Rhine, west toward the Atlantic. 2,000 years later, Lyon remains a transportation hub. High-speed trains stop here. Motorways converge here. The airport serves international destinations. The city has evolved, grown, transformed beyond anything the Romans could imagine. But its fundamental role persists. The city is famous for its cuisine, its silk industry heritage, and its role as a gateway between northern and southern Europe. Our route skirts the city, staying on the motorway. But we can sense its presence, the glow of lights, the increased traffic, even at night. Lyon's culinary reputation is formidable. It's sometimes called the gastronomic capital of France, which in a country that takes food seriously is quite a claim. The city's traditional bouchons, small restaurants serving Lyonnaise specialties, are destinations for food lovers worldwide. The silk industry made Lyon wealthy in the Renaissance. Italian techniques were brought here, improved, perfected. At its peak, thousands of looms operated in the city, producing fabrics for the European elite. The industry has declined, but its legacy remains in the city's architecture, its culture, its sense of itself. Past Lyon, the landscape begins its transformation. The Rhone Valley opens before us, a natural corridor that has channeled trade and movement for thousands of years. Romans marched these routes, medieval merchants traveled them, and now modern trucks carry goods along the same essential pathway. The motorway follows the river valley, efficient, direct, engineered to maintain steady grades even as the terrain around us grows more dramatic. To our east, beyond sight in darkness, the Alps begin their rise. The Rhone is one of Europe's great rivers. It rises in the Swiss Alps, flows through Lake Geneva, then turns south through France to the Mediterranean. For millennia, it was a trade route, boats carrying goods upstream and down, connecting the Mediterranean world to northern Europe. The valley it carved is wide and fertile. Agriculture has flourished here for centuries. Fruits, vegetables, the famous Rhone wines. The climate is milder than further north. Mediterranean influences reach this far up the valley, creating conditions ideal for certain crops. We pass Valence, Montélimar, towns that grew wealthy from their positions along trade routes. Montélimar is famous for nougat, a confection that travelers have purchased as gifts for centuries. Continuing traditions of commerce along this road. Montélimar's nougat tradition began in the 18th century. The town's position on the trade route, combined with local almond production and honey from lavender fields, created the perfect conditions for nougat making. What started as a local specialty became known across France and eventually worldwide. Even now, shops along the highway sell nougat to passing travelers. It's a small echo of older patterns, when every town along a route offered its own specialties, when travel meant experiencing the products of each region, when food was intensely local. The road continues south through the Rhone Valley. We're roughly following the route of the old N7, the Route Nationale 7, which before the motorway era was the main road south. That road still exists, running parallel to the motorway through the centers of these towns instead of bypassing them. Traveling the N7 would be slower, more circuitous, but more connected to the landscape. You'd see the towns, the people, the shops. The motorway is efficient but isolating. We pass through these regions without really experiencing them. Speed has its costs. Near Valence, the landscape begins to change more noticeably. The air feels different, even through the truck's climate control. We're entering a transition zone between continental and Mediterranean climates, between the north and the south. The route begins to bend eastward, leaving the Rhône Valley, heading toward Chambéry and the Alps. This is where our journey turns from southward to eastward, where we commit to the crossing. Chambéry sits in a valley between mountain ranges. It was once the capital of the Duchy of Savoy, a strategic position between France and Italy. Before Savoy was absorbed into France in the 19th century. The town still has an alpine character, architecture that speaks to its mountain setting. From here, the road begins to climb, not steeply yet, but noticeably. The flat lands of the Rhône Valley are behind us. Ahead, the Alps. Switzerland appears. Even in darkness, the presence of mountains becomes undeniable. The road begins to climb, gently at first, through Chambéry and toward the French Alps. The Maurienne Valley narrows around us. This is one of the traditional routes through the Alps, following a river valley that cuts through the mountains. Before modern engineering, before tunnels and galleries, travelers would follow valleys like this, climbing to passes, descending on the other side. We pass through small mountain towns. Saint-Jean-de-Maurienne, a town that grew around a cathedral that served as a way station for Alpine travelers for centuries. These communities have always depended on the pass, on the traffic that flows through, on serving the needs of travelers making this crossing. The route toward Italy traditionally passed through high mountain passes, dangerous in winter, treacherous even in summer. But modern engineering has changed everything. The Col du Mont-Cenis, one of the old routes, crosses at over 2,000 meters elevation. In winter, it's impassable. Even in summer, it requires careful driving. Napoleon improved the road in the early 19th century, making it suitable for artillery. But it remained challenging. The railway tunnel under the pass, completed in 1871, was an engineering marvel of its era. 13 kilometers through solid mountain, dug by hand and explosive, taking 14 years to complete. It revolutionized travel between France and Italy. But for road traffic, the pass remained the only option until the Fréjus road tunnel opened. Near Modane, we approach the Fréjus road tunnel, linking France with Italy beneath the Alps. At 12.8 kilometers long, it's one of the major trans-alpine crossings, connecting the Maurienne Valley in France with the Suze Valley in Italy. Modane is the last French town before the tunnel. It's a border town, customs post, railway junction. The town exists because of the pass, because of its position at this crossing point. Without the route through the mountains, there would be little reason for a town here. Construction began in 1974, and the tunnel opened in 1980. A remarkable feat of engineering, boring through solid mountain, creating a year-round passage that previous generations could only dream of. The construction of tunnels like this is extraordinary. Massive, boring machines, cutting through rock, removing debris, installing support systems, all while working underground in difficult conditions. The Frejus tunnel took 6 years to complete. Crews working from both sides, meeting in the middle with remarkable precision. The tunnel has ventilation systems, lighting, emergency escape routes, fire suppression systems, all designed to make it as safe as possible, because any incident in a long tunnel is serious. Emergency services can't easily reach the middle. Evacuation is complex. Fire is especially dangerous in the confined space. Inside the tunnel, the world contracts to headlights and walls. Our man's engine note changes slightly, the sound reflecting back, creating a cocoon of mechanical rhythm. It's a strange space, suspended between countries, between mountain faces, moving through solid rock. The tunnel walls stream past, lights at regular intervals, ventilation shafts drawing air through the space, other vehicles, their taillights ahead, their headlights approaching in the opposite lane. The tunnel creates a temporary community, all of us passing through this mountain together, briefly sharing this liminal space. There's something profound about it. We're inside a mountain, thousands of tons of rock above us, moving through space that humans created, through what was once solid stone. It's a testament to human capability, to engineering, to our refusal to be stopped by natural barriers. Emerging on the Italian side, we're in the Susa Valley, Piedmont region. The descent begins carefully, our transmission working to provide engine braking, managing our speed as altitude drops away. The air feels different. We've crossed something more than just a border. The landscape, the architecture we'd see in daylight, even the quality of light, all subtly different. We're in Italy now. We continue toward Turin, a major industrial city, home to Fiat and countless manufacturing facilities, another node in Europe's economic network. As we approach, even at night, the city's presence is unmistakable. Lights spreading across the valley, the distant silhouette of the Alps behind us. Turin, known in Italian as Torino, has been a center of industry and innovation for over a century. The first Italian capital, a city of Baroque architecture and industrial might, where automotive history was written. The House of Savoy made Turin their capital, the royal palace, the elegant arcaded streets, the Baroque churches, all reflect this heritage. But Turin's modern identity is industrial. This is where Fiat was founded in 1900, where Italian automotive engineering developed, where millions of cars have been built. The relationship between Turin and the automobile is deep. The city's economy, its culture, its very identity became intertwined with car manufacturing. Fiat wasn't just an employer, it shaped the city. Workers came from across Italy to work in the factories. Neighborhoods grew around the plants. The company built housing, schools, services for its workers. This industrial heritage is visible even at night. The factory complexes, the logistics centers, the freight yards. Turin is a working city, a city that makes things, a city where the connection between labor and product remains tangible. We join the A4 Autostrada, the Serenissima motorway, one of Italy's most important routes. This highway connects Turin to Trieste, crossing the entire Po Valley from west to east, through Milan, through Venice, linking Italy's industrial heartland to its northeastern borders. The A4 is Italy's economic backbone. It connects the industrial northwest Turin and Milan, with the ports of Venice and Trieste. It serves the factories of Lombardy, the agricultural regions of Veneto, the tourist destinations of Lake Garda and the Adriatic coast. Traffic is heavy, even at night. Container trucks heading to or from ports. Refrigerated trucks like ours carrying food products. Tankers, car carriers, flatbeds with machinery or construction materials. The variety is extraordinary. Every truck a story, every load connecting producers and consumers. The Po Valley opens before us. After the mountains, this vast flat expanse feels almost surreal. The Po River, Italy's longest, has created this agricultural heartland through millennia of sediment deposition. Rice fields, corn, vegetables. This is where much of northern Italy's food is grown. The Po Valley is one of Europe's most productive agricultural regions. The flat land, the water from the Po and its tributaries, the mild climate, all create ideal conditions for farming. Rice cultivation, introduced centuries ago, thrives in the wet conditions. Corn for animal feed and polenta, vegetables for fresh markets and processing. This agricultural wealth supported the cities of the valley: Milan, Verona, Padua. All grew rich on the productivity of the surrounding farmland. They were markets, processing centers, administrative hubs for the agricultural regions. Even as industry developed, this agricultural foundation remained. Milan lies ahead, though in our nighttime journey, we'll bypass the city center via the Tangenziale, the ring road system, Italy's financial capital, fashion center, a city whose reach extends far beyond its borders. Milan is many things. It's Italy's financial center, the stock exchange, the headquarters of major banks and corporations. It's the fashion capital, home to Prada, Armani, Versace, host of fashion weeks that influence global trends. It's a cultural center, La Scala Opera House, museums, galleries. But Milan is also intensely practical. It's a business city, a working city, less romantic than Rome or Venice, less picturesque than Florence, but more economically dynamic. This is where deals are made, where industry is managed, where Italy's modern economy operates, even unseen. Milan's influence is felt in the trucks heading to and from its distribution centers, in the economic activity that keeps these highways busy at all hours. The A4 cuts north of the city, allowing through traffic to avoid the congested urban core. The Tangenziale system, Milan's ring roads, manages enormous traffic volumes. The city's position at the center of northern Italy's road network means traffic converges here from all directions. The ring roads channel this flow, allowing traffic to pass around rather than through the city. Past Milan, we continue eastward through Lombardy. Bergamo passes to our north. Brescia ahead, cities with their own rich histories, now part of Italy's modern industrial corridor. Bergamo is a city of two parts: the old upper town, medieval walls, narrow streets, perched on a hill; the modern lower town, spreading across the plain, connected to the upper town by funicular railway. It's a visual representation of Italy itself, ancient and modern existing side by side. Brescia, ancient Brixia, was an important Roman city. Its Roman ruins, temple columns, forum fragments still stand in the city center. Through medieval times, Renaissance, Industrial Revolution, to today, the city has continuously adapted, continuously evolved. The A4 through this section is heavily trafficked. Lombardy is Italy's most industrialized region. Factories, workshops, manufacturing facilities of every kind. Metalworking, textiles, machinery, chemicals, food processing. The variety of industry is remarkable. This industrial density creates constant freight movement. Raw materials coming in, finished products going out, components moving between facilities. Everything must be transported. And much of it moves on roads like this, on trucks like ours, in the constant circulation of goods that keeps the economy functioning. Verona approaches. City of Romeo and Juliet. Though long before Shakespeare, it was a critical Roman city at the junction of multiple trade routes. That strategic importance persists. Modern logistics companies maintain facilities here, capitalizing on the same geographic advantages that Romans recognized 2,000 years ago. Verona sits where routes converge, north-south through the Adige Valley toward the Brenner Pass and Austria, east-west along the Po Valley between Milan and Venice. This made it valuable in Roman times, valuable in medieval times, and valuable today. The Roman amphitheater in Verona, the arena, still stands and still hosts performances. Built in the 1st century AD, it seated 30,000 spectators. Now it's used for opera, the summer festival drawing audiences from around the world. Ancient engineering still serving its purpose 2 millennia later. Shakespeare immortalized Verona in Romeo and Juliet. The city embraces this. There's a balcony identified as Juliet's, though it was added long after Shakespeare's time. But fiction and reality blur. The story feels true to the city, to its romantic medieval character, even if the specific events never happened. The A4 continues, straight and fast through the Veneto. Lake Garda lies to our north, though invisible in darkness. Italy's largest lake, a body of water that moderates the local climate, that draws millions of visitors each year. Lake Garda is extraordinary. Almost 40 kilometers long, surrounded by mountains, with a microclimate that allows olives and lemons to grow at this northern latitude. Its towns, Sirmione, Malsacene, Riva del Garda, are tourist destinations, but it's also important for local agriculture, for viticulture, for the communities that surround it. The lake's size affects local weather. It stores heat in summer, releasing it in winter, moderating temperature extremes. This creates conditions where Mediterranean plants can survive, where early spring arrives sooner, where autumn lingers longer. Past Verona, the road continues through the Veneto's agricultural lands. This is wine country, Prosecco vineyards spread across hillsides we cannot see. Denominazione di origine controllata, regions producing wines exported worldwide. Prosecco, Italy's answer to Champagne, comes primarily from this region. The hills north of the highway, the Conegliano and Valdobbiadene areas, produce the highest quality Prosecco. The wine's popularity has exploded in recent decades. Production has expanded dramatically to meet demand. The DOC, Denominazione di origine controllata, system regulates wine production. It specifies which grapes can be used, which regions can use particular names, what production methods are acceptable. It protects quality, protects tradition, protects the reputations that specific regions have built over generations. The road is straight here, easy, the kind of driving that allows contemplation, the mind to wander, which is precisely what we want on this journey. The A4 through the Veneto is remarkably level. The motorway engineers managed to create a nearly straight route across the valley. Mile after mile of steady driving, gentle curves, minimal gradient changes. It's efficient, fast, allowing traffic to move at sustained high speeds. This efficiency comes at a cost of engagement. The landscape becomes abstract. We're moving through it, but not really experiencing it. The towns we pass, the fields, the industries, all remain invisible. We know they're there, but they're theoretical rather than observed. But for freight transport, efficiency matters. Every minute saved on the road is a minute gained elsewhere. Fuel saved through steady speeds, reduced driver fatigue, on-time delivery. These practical concerns outweigh the romance of slower roads through towns and villages. We're approaching the final leg now. Padua passes to our south, one of Europe's oldest universities, where Galileo once taught. The Veneto region surrounds us, a place where art, architecture, and commerce have flourished for centuries. The University of Padua was founded in 1222. It's one of the world's oldest continuously operating universities. Galileo taught mathematics here in the late 16th century. The famous anatomical theater, where students observed dissections, still exists. Padua was part of the Venetian Republic for centuries. The university served the Republic, training administrators, lawyers, physicians. The Venetians understood that their commercial empire needed educated people. The university was an investment in the Republic's future. The city's art is remarkable. Giotto's frescoes in the Scrovegni Chapel are considered masterworks of early Renaissance painting. The Basilica of St. Anthony, pilgrimage destination, contains works by Donatello. The city's artistic heritage reflects its wealth, its connections, its importance. The landscape is changing again. We're approaching the Venetian lagoon. The land becomes flatter. Water is everywhere. Rivers, canals, drainage ditches. This is land reclaimed from marsh, maintained by constant human effort. The Veneto's agriculture includes unique specialties: radicchio from Treviso, asparagus from Bassano, rice from the lowlands, each product linked to specific places, to specific conditions, to traditions of cultivation and preparation. And finally, the causeway to Venice, the Ponte della Libertà, the Bridge of Freedom, built between 1931 and 1933, represents the only road and rail connection to this extraordinary city built on water. Before this bridge, Venice could only be reached by boat. The causeway changed everything, connecting the island city to the mainland, to Mestra, to the modern world. The bridge is nearly 4 kilometers long. It crosses the lagoon from Mestre, the mainland portion of Venice, to the historic center. Rail traffic shares the causeway, trains and cars side by side, all converging on this unique destination. The construction was controversial. Some argued it would damage Venice's character, compromise its isolation. But practical concerns won. The city needed better connections. Trade needed efficient routes. Tourism needed access. Venice itself doesn't allow trucks into the historic center. Of course, our cargo will be transferred here, at Tronchetto, or in the industrial area of Porto Marghera, onto smaller vehicles or boats, for the final delivery into the city's maze of canals and alleys. Tronchetto is Venice's freight terminal, an artificial island, parking lots, transfer facilities. Goods arriving by truck are consolidated here, then moved into Venice by boat or small electric vehicles. It's the interface between the modern logistics system and the medieval city. Porto Marghera, the industrial zone, is different. Built in the early 20th century, it's a conventional industrial port. Refineries, chemical plants, cargo handling facilities. It represents Venice's attempt to maintain an industrial base, to be more than just a museum city. We've traveled 1,214 kilometers, crossed 3 countries, climbed and descended the Alps to deliver 13 tons of lamb stomachs to one of the world's most unique cities. The journey is complete. The engine will soon be silenced, and somewhere in Venice, traditional cooks will receive this cargo, continuing their work, preparing dishes that connect modern diners to centuries of culinary tradition. And now we embark on the second route of this journey. We've arrived in Venice, delivered our cargo, and now it's time to head north. A different truck, a different load, a different destination. This time, we're driving a Volvo FH Globetrotter XL. Swedish engineering at its finest, 540 horsepower, carrying 22 tons of empty pallets back to Germany. Our destination is Nuremberg, 762 kilometers to the north, through the heart of the Alps, across Austria, into Bavaria. This is return logistics, the invisible half of the supply chain. Goods flow south into Italy, and the packaging, the pallets, the containers must flow back north. It's a constant circulation, a rhythm that keeps European commerce functioning. The route will take us up the Brenner Corridor, one of the most important freight routes in Europe, through the Adige Valley, over the Brenner Pass, down through Austria's Inn Valley, past Munich, and finally to Nuremberg. So we continue. The night still dark, the roads calling. Let's see what this Volvo can do. The Volvo FH, a truck that transformed European haulage when it first appeared. Volvo Trucks, a Swedish company with roots stretching back to 1928, founded in Gothenburg, initially as a subsidiary of the SKF Bearing Company. Volvo quickly established itself as a manufacturer of quality vehicles. The name Volvo comes from Latin, I roll, a fitting choice for a company dedicated to transportation. From the beginning, Volvo emphasized safety and durability, Swedish engineering values, building things to last, building them to protect the people who use them. The FH series launched in 1993, replacing the F series that had served for 15 years. It was a bold move. Volvo invested 7 years in development. They redesigned everything: new engines, new cabs, new thinking about what a long-haul truck should be. FH stands for Forward Control High Entry, describing the cab over-engine design with its elevated driver position. This configuration provides excellent visibility, allows maximum trailer length within legal limits, and has become the European standard. Our truck tonight is from the 3rd generation. The FH3, which launched in 2008 and continued until 2012. This generation refined what had come before, improved fuel efficiency, enhanced driver comfort, maintained Volvo's reputation for reliability. The Globetrotter XL designation refers to the cab. This is Volvo's largest sleeper, designed for drivers who live in their trucks for weeks at a time. The interior height is 220 centimeters, taller than most people. You can stand, move around, live comfortably. The sleeping arrangements are thoughtful. A lower bunk, 81.5 centimeters wide in the middle, comfortable for sleeping. An upper bunk, 70 by 190 centimeters, height adjustable, foldable when not in use, for teams, for training, for having a passenger along. Storage is everywhere. Overhead compartments, under bunk storage, side pockets, shelves. Volvo understands that drivers need to carry clothes, food, personal items, tools, paperwork. Everything has a place. The cab includes a 33-liter refrigerator with freezer compartments. Not just a cooler, a proper fridge. Drivers can carry fresh food, prepare meals, avoid expensive and unhealthy motorway restaurant food. It's a detail that matters for health, for budget, for quality of life. Climate control is fully electric with a sun sensor. The system automatically adjusts, maintaining comfortable temperature, even as the truck moves from shade to sun, as outside temperature changes. The cab heater can run independently, 1.8 kilowatts air-to-air, warming the cabin during rest periods without running the main engine. 540 horsepower from Volvo's D13K engine. This is a 13-liter inline-six diesel, one of Volvo's most successful power plants. The K designation indicates it meets Euro 6 emission standards, using both SCR and EGR technology, selective catalytic reduction, and exhaust gas recirculation. The D13 produces 2,600 Newton meters of torque. That's substantial pulling power. Torque is what moves heavy loads, what gets you up hills, what matters in real-world driving more than peak horsepower numbers. 13 liters might seem large, but it's modest compared to some European trucks. Volvo's engineering focus has been on efficiency rather than displacement. Extract more power from smaller engines, use fuel more carefully, reduce emissions without sacrificing performance. The engine features common rail fuel injection at very high pressure, precise fuel metering, multiple injection events per cycle. The computer controls everything, adjusting to load, to speed, to driving conditions, optimizing combustion thousands of times per second. Cooling is critical. The engine management system monitors temperatures constantly. Coolant temperature, oil temperature, intake air temperature. If anything approaches limits, the system responds, reduces power, alerts the driver, prevents damage. The transmission is Volvo's I-Shift, an automated manual with 12 forward gears. Like Mann's Tipmatic, this combines manual transmission efficiency with automatic convenience. The computer selects gears, operates the clutch, manages shifts smoother than most human drivers could. I-Shift learns your driving style. It adapts. If you tend to anticipate traffic and coast, it recognizes this and adjusts its shift strategy. If you're more aggressive, it responds accordingly. This adaptive logic improves over time, creating a transmission that feels personalized. The system includes manual override. If you want to hold a gear, select a specific gear. Take control for engine braking on a descent. You can. Buttons on the gear selector, or paddles on the steering column in some configurations. The The computer handles the physical work, but you make the decisions. A gearbox-mounted retarder provides additional braking power. This is a hydraulic device that creates resistance, converting kinetic energy to heat, slowing the truck without using the service brakes. Essential for mountain driving. The Brenner Pass ahead will use it extensively. Volvo's IC system takes predictive cruise control to an impressive level. Using GPS data and topographic maps, the system knows the road ahead. Every hill, every curve, every gradient change. It plans accordingly. Approaching a hill might increase speed slightly, building momentum. Cresting the hill, it might allow speed to drop. Coasting, engine barely using fuel. On the descent, it uses the retarder and engine brake, maintaining safe speed without touching the service brakes. The fuel savings are measurable. 3 to 5% on routes with varied terrain. Over thousands of kilometers. Over a year, this adds up significantly. For fleet operators, it's money saved. For the environment, it's fuel not burned. The dashboard is clean and logical. Primary instruments directly ahead. Secondary information on the center display. Everything readable at a glance. Warning lights, indicators, telltales, all positioned where they should be. Volvo's design philosophy emphasizes clarity. Drivers shouldn't have to search for information. Critical data should be obvious. Everything else should be accessible, but not distracting. It's Swedish design thinking. Minimalist, functional, elegant in its simplicity. The steering wheel is leather-wrapped. Controls for cruise, phone, audio, all at your fingertips. The seats are suspended, heated, adjustable in multiple directions. Hours of driving ahead, comfort matters enormously. Volvo built its reputation on reliability. FH trucks routinely cover millions of kilometers. Engines are rebuilt rather than replaced. Cabs last for decades. This durability is intentional, engineered from the beginning, part of the company's identity. Service intervals are long. Oil changes every 100,000 kilometers in some configurations. This reduces downtime, reduces maintenance costs, keeps trucks working rather than sitting in workshops. And when service is needed, Volvo's dealer network spans Europe. Parts availability is excellent. Mechanics know these trucks intimately. For operators, this network is essential. A breakdown far from home. You need help quickly. You need expertise. You need parts. Volvo provides all three. So here we are in this Globetrotter XL. Swedish engineering surrounding us, ready for the journey north through the Alps. This truck was built for exactly this kind of work. Long distance, heavy loads, mountain passes, variable weather. It's in its element. 22 tons of empty pallets. At first hearing, this might seem insignificant. Empty. Nothing. Just packaging returning home. But these pallets represent something fundamental to modern commerce. They are the foundation, literally, on which goods move. Without pallets, without standardized load carriers, the supply chain as we know it couldn't exist. The standard Euro pallet, officially called the EUR pallet or EPAL pallet, measures 120 centimeters by 80 centimeters. It was standardized in 1961 by the European Pallet Association. This standardization was revolutionary. Before standard pallets, every load was handled individually. Boxes stacked by hand. Crates arranged carefully. Loading a truck took hours. Unloading took hours. It was labor-intensive, slow, expensive, with standard pallets, with forklifts designed for standard pallets, with warehouse racking designed for standard pallets. Everything changed. A pallet of goods becomes a single unit. Pick it up, move it, stack it, load it, unload it. One operation instead of dozens. The dimensions aren't arbitrary. 120 by 80 centimeters allows 2 pallets side by side in a standard truck, with space for the truck's interior width. It's a size that balances load capacity against weight, against handling convenience, against storage efficiency. Euro pallets are wood construction, typically softwood, pine or spruce. 11 boards on top, 3 longitudinal stringers underneath, 9 support blocks. The design is specific. The construction is regulated. Every legitimate EUR pallet bears stamps indicating compliance with standards. A standard pallet weighs about 20 to 25 kilograms. Empty. Our load of 22 tons. That's approximately 800 to 1,000 pallets. Stacked efficiently. Secured properly. A full trailer of them. But these aren't just any pallets. They're part of a pooling system. This is crucial to understanding modern logistics. Pallet pooling is a circular system. Companies like LPR, Europool System, Pocky, IPP Pooling, they own millions of pallets. They rent these pallets to manufacturers and distributors. The pallets carry goods through the supply chain. At the end, they're collected, inspected, repaired if needed, cleaned, and returned to circulation. This solves multiple problems. Companies don't need to own pallets. They don't need warehouses full of empty pallets. They don't need staff to manage pallet inventory. They simply rent what they need, when they need it, where they need it. The pooling companies manage everything. They have service centers across Europe, hundreds of locations. When you need pallets, they deliver. When you're finished with them, they collect. The logistics are handled centrally, optimized across thousands of customers. Achieving efficiency no single company could match. Quality control is built into the system. Pooling company pallets are inspected after each use. Broken boards are replaced. Damaged blocks are repaired. Pallets too worn for continued use are retired. The pallets in circulation are consistently good quality. This matters for automation. Modern warehouses use automated storage and retrieval systems, robotic forklifts, conveyor systems. These require pallets of consistent quality, consistent dimensions, consistent structural integrity. A broken pallet can jam an entire system, shutting down operations, costing thousands per hour. Euro pallet pooling prevents this. The pallets meet standards. They're maintained. They work reliably with automated systems. This enables the kind of efficient, high-speed warehousing that modern retail requires. The environmental benefits are significant. A pallet in a pooling system might be used 100 times over 7 years. That's 100 shipments, 100 loads, all on the same pallet. Compare this to single-use packaging, destroyed after one journey. The resource savings are enormous. At end of life, the pallets don't go to landfills. They're recycled. The wood becomes chipboard, particle board, fuel, compost. The metal fasteners are recovered. Nothing is wasted. Our load tonight is return logistics. These pallets were delivered to Italian distributors and retailers, carrying goods from elsewhere in Europe. Those goods have been sold. The pallets are now empty. They need to return north to Germany, where they'll be refilled and sent south again. This return flow is essential. Without it, pallets would accumulate in Italy. The pooling companies would need to constantly manufacture new pallets for Northern Europe. The system only works as a circuit: south full, north empty, continuously. The economics make sense. Hauling empty pallets might seem wasteful, but trucks must return north anyway. The pallet weight is manageable. The space would otherwise be empty. So carrying pallets on return journeys utilizes capacity that would otherwise generate no revenue. Some trucks carry mixed loads, perhaps machinery or consumer goods, northbound in the front of the trailer, empty pallets in the back, or partially loaded with export goods for Germany, with pallets filling the remaining space. Every cubic meter, every kilogram of capacity, optimized. The pooling companies use sophisticated software to manage flows. They track pallet locations across Europe. They predict where pallets will be needed based on seasonal patterns, historical data, customer forecasts. They optimize collection and delivery routes. It's logistics at a continental scale. This is invisible infrastructure. Most people never think about pallets. They're just there, in warehouses, in trucks, in loading docks. But they're as essential as roads or railways. They make the modern supply chain possible. The alternative is chaos. Without standardization, every company managing its own pallets, quality varying wildly, sizes incompatible, tracking impossible. The efficiency gains from pooling are substantial. Lower costs, less waste, better utilization of resources. And so we're carrying 800 or so of these pallets north. Each one will be inspected when we arrive. Any damage will be noted. Repairs will be scheduled. The good pallets will be cleaned and returned to the pool within days. They'll be allocated to new customers, loaded with new goods, sent on new journeys. It's a cycle, continuous, efficient, sustainable. These empty pallets aren't waste. They're resources returning to where they're needed. They're capital equipment circulating through the economy. They're the foundation on which countless transactions rest. Return logistics might not seem glamorous, but it's essential. It closes the loop. It makes the circular economy real, and loads like ours, empty pallets heading north, are a fundamental part of how modern Europe functions. We begin our journey in Venice, or more precisely, at the freight terminals on the mainland. Venice proper, the historic center, doesn't accommodate trucks. So the logistics infrastructure sits here in Mestre and Porto Marghera, connecting the island city to the continental transport network. Porto Marghera was developed in the early 20th century as Venice's industrial port. Refineries, factories, cargo terminals, all the infrastructure that a modern port requires, but that couldn't fit in the ancient city. It's a working landscape, cranes and warehouses, ships and trucks, the machinery of commerce. Our pallets were collected from various locations around Venice, retail distribution centers, warehouse facilities. Each delivery left empty pallets behind. The pooling company's local agent collected them, bringing them to this consolidation point, building our load. We head west on the A4, the same motorway we arrived on from Milan. But now we're going the opposite direction, back toward Verona, back toward the mountains. The Venetian lagoon lies to our right. invisible in darkness, but we sense its presence. This unique landscape, where land and sea intermingle, has shaped Venice's character for 1,500 years. The causeway behind us, the Ponte della Libertà, was controversial when built. Some argued it would destroy Venice's character. Others insisted the city needed better connections to survive. Both were probably right. The A4 cuts across the Veneto plain. Flat land, agricultural land, centuries of careful water management. This region was once marshland, gradually drained and cultivated, transformed into productive farmland. Small towns dot the landscape. Mira, Dolo, communities that existed long before the motorway. The road bypasses them now, but they remain, their centers preserving medieval and Renaissance architecture. We pass Padua to our south, a university city, one of Europe's oldest, where Galileo taught for 18 years. The city made him construct a new instrument, something to study distant objects. He called it a telescope. History was made there. The flatness continues. The Po Valley extends far to the west and south, but ahead, though we can't see them yet, the mountains wait. The Alps. Our path will take us straight into them. Vicenza passes to our north, Andrea Palladio's city, where the great Renaissance architect created buildings that influenced architecture worldwide. Palladio's villas, his public buildings, his churches. They defined classical proportions for centuries. The route is straight and fast. The A4 is one of Italy's major arteries, built in sections between the 1930s and 1960s. It connects Turin to Trieste, crossing the entire northern Italian industrial belt. Traffic is moderate despite the hour. Trucks heading west toward Milan, some continuing to Turin. Others will branch south toward Genoa and the ports. Europe's freight network never sleeps. Goods constantly moving, day and night. Verona approaches. We can see the glow of the city ahead. Ancient Roman city. Shakespeare's setting for Romeo and Juliet. Now a modern logistics hub where the A22 branches north toward Austria and Germany. The Brenner corridor starts here. This is where our serious climbing begins. From Verona at 61 meters above sea level to the Brenner Pass at 1,374 meters. More than 1,300 meters of elevation gain, spread over 200 kilometers. We merge onto the A22, the Autostrada del Brennero. This motorway, this route, is one of the most important freight corridors in Europe. It's the main connection between northern Italy and Germany, Austria, and beyond. 315 kilometers of motorway from Modena in the south to the Brenner Pass at the Austrian border. It passes through 4 Italian regions: Emilia, Romagna, Lombardy, Veneto, and Trentino Alto Adige, each with its own character, its own history, its own relationship to the pass. The A22 is independently operated by Autostrada del Brennero SPA. They manage the road, maintain it, develop it. The tolls we pay support this operation. The highway is in excellent condition, well lit, well signed, engineered to handle heavy freight traffic efficiently. We follow the Adige Valley northward. The Adige is Italy's second longest river, flowing from the Alps to the Adriatic. This valley, carved over millennia, provides a natural route through the mountains. Before motorways, before railways, travelers followed this same corridor. The valley narrows as we proceed. Mountains rise on both sides, increasingly steep, increasingly dramatic. Even in darkness, we sense their presence. The way the stars disappear near the horizon, the way sounds echo differently, the bulk of rock surrounding us. Lake Garda lies to our west, Italy's largest lake, though we won't see it. The lake moderates the local climate, allows olives and lemons to grow at this northern latitude. Its tourist towns, Sirmione, Riva del Garda, welcome millions each summer. Rovereto appears ahead. This town, like many in this region, has a complex history, part of Austria until 1918. Now Italian, German and Italian both spoken, architecture reflecting Central European influences. It's a borderland, a transition zone. The town sits at a junction of valleys, the main Adige Valley continuing north, side valleys branching east and west. Historically, militarily, this made Rovereto important. Castles overlook the town. Fortifications dot the surrounding heights. We continue through the night. The road climbs gradually but steadily. Modern engineering keeps gradients manageable. Curves are gentle. Heavy trucks can maintain reasonable speeds, but we're working, the engine pulling, the transmission selecting lower gears, the fuel consumption increasing. Trento lies ahead, capital of Trentino Alto Adige region, where the Council of Trento met in the 16th century, defining Catholic doctrine in response to Protestant Reformation. The decisions made here shaped European history. Trento sits in a widening of the valley, space enough for a proper city. Mountains frame it, but don't crowd it. The location has made it a regional center for centuries. Roman settlement, medieval bishopric, Habsburg city, Italian since 1918, each era leaving its mark. Past Trento, the valley narrows again. The mountains close in. We're deep in the Alps now. The landscape changes. More rock, more forest, villages smaller and more scattered. This is mountain country, where nature dominates and humans adapt. Bolzano approaches, the largest city between Verona and Austria, known as Bozen in German. This is the capital of South Tyrol, the predominantly German-speaking part of Italy. Signs are bilingual. Culture is mixed. The regional identity is distinct. South Tyrol's status has been controversial. Part of Austria-Hungary until 1918. Annexed by Italy after World War I. Suppressed under fascism. Granted autonomy after World War II. Now peacefully administered with strong regional powers. German language and culture officially protected. The landscape reflects this alpine culture. Architecture is different from southern Italy. Wooden chalets, steep-pitched roofs for heavy snow, churches with onion domes, painted facades. This is the Alps, culturally and physically. Past Bolzano, the valley continues northward. We're following the Isarco Valley now. German name, Isachtal. The river has carved this route through the mountains, deep, narrow in places. The motorway hugs one side, the railway the other, both squeezing through this natural corridor. Bressanone, German name Brixen, a beautiful town, Baroque architecture, a cathedral, a bishop's palace. We bypass it, but it represents centuries of history. This was a powerful ecclesiastical state, its bishops ruling as princes. The climb intensifies, not steep by mountain pass standards, but noticeable. Our Volvo is working harder. The engine note changes. The transmission shifts down. We can feel the grade. Vipiteno appears. German name, Sturzing. The last significant town before the border. Medieval center. Tower gates, painted buildings. It's a tourist destination now. Skiers in winter, hikers in summer. But historically, it was a customs post, a military position, a place where travelers gathered before attempting the pass. The valley narrows dramatically. Mountains rise steeply on both sides. This is the approach to the Brenner, even with modern engineering. The constraint of geography is apparent. There's only one way through here. Fortifications appear, bunkers, gun positions, defensive works from World War I and World War II. The Brenner was strategically crucial. Control of this pass meant control of movement between Italy and Austria. Both empires, Austrian and Italian, fortified heavily. The road continues its climb, steadily, persistently. We're approaching 1,400 meters elevation. The air is thinner, the temperature lower. If this were daytime, we'd see snow on the peaks year-round. Other trucks surround us. This is one of Europe's busiest freight routes, goods flowing north and south. The Brenner carries more transalpine truck traffic than any other route. Over 2 million trucks annually pass through here. There are plans for a railway tunnel. The Brenner Base Tunnel, currently under construction, will be the world's longest railway tunnel when complete. 55 kilometers, running beneath the pass, providing high-capacity rail freight alternative. It's meant to reduce truck traffic, shift freight to rail, reduce emissions. A project for the future. But tonight, like every night, hundreds of trucks make this crossing. It's the geography. The Brenner is the lowest major pass through the Central Alps, 1,374 meters. Compare this to other alpine passes, many over 2,000 meters, some nearly 3,000. The Brenner's relatively low elevation has made it the preferred route for centuries. Romans used this pass, medieval merchants, Renaissance traders, Napoleon's armies, Hitler's troops. Now, thousands of trucks daily. The pass endures, the route remains. Only the technology changes. And ahead, we see it. The border facilities, Austria beyond, the pass itself. We're crossing the spine of the Alps. The border is routine, part of the Schengen Agreement. No physical barriers. Perhaps a checkpoint that waves us through. The European Union made this easy. Before Schengen, trucks queued for hours at borders, paperwork, inspections, customs procedures. Now, seamless. But we're in Austria. Different country, different toll system. The A13 Brenner Autobahn on the Austrian side. We'll pay tolls separately here, different from Italian tolls. The systems aren't integrated. The Austrian side, the descent begins immediately. We're going downhill now. Our retarder engages. The transmission holds lower gears. We're controlling speed without using the service brakes continuously. This is what the retarder is for. Long descents. Maintaining safe speed without overheating brakes. The Whip Valley, Whiptal in German, falls away below us. Steep mountainsides, forested slopes. This valley drains northward to the Inn River. We're following it down. The motorway on this side is remarkable engineering. Built in the late 1960s and early 70s, it runs on bridges for 28% of its length. Viaducts spanning side valleys, elevated sections, all to maintain manageable gradients despite the steep terrain. Austria needed this motorway. Their economy depends on transit traffic. Goods flowing between Northern Europe and Italy, between Germany and the Balkans. The Brenner route is Austria's lifeline to the south. The descent is carefully engineered. Slow lanes for trucks on steep sections. These allow cars to pass safely. Heavy vehicles stay right, maintaining steady speeds, not impeding faster traffic. It's a system that works, keeping traffic flowing. Small villages appear beside the road. Gries am Brenner, Steinach. These are mountain communities, traditionally dependent on farming and forestry. Now also serving transit traffic. Gas stations, restaurants, hotels. The pass has brought them opportunity. The valley widens slightly as we descend. More room for settlement. Small farms on valley slopes, hay meadows. The land here is marginal for agriculture, short growing season, steep terrain. But Tyrolean farmers have worked it for centuries. Steinach am Brenner sits at the junction where the valley widens noticeably. This was historically a staging point. Before motorways, travelers rested here before or after the pass. Changed horses, loaded or unloaded wagons. Now it's a service area for motorway traffic. The gradient continues downward. We're losing altitude steadily. From the pass at 1374 meters, down toward Innsbruck at 574 meters, 800 meters of descent, spread over 40 kilometers of motorway. Ahead, the Inn Valley opens. We can sense the change, the valley widening, the mountains pulling back. We're emerging from the confined upper valley into the broader lower valley, the Inn Valley, Inntal, one of the great alpine valleys. The Inn River flows here, eventually joining the Danube in Germany. This valley has been a corridor of movement for millennia. Trade routes, migration routes, invasion routes. Now, motorways and railways. Innsbruck approaches. We see its lights spreading across the valley floor. A proper city, the capital of Tyrol, where the Alps meet urban civilization. The name means bridge over the Inn, which is exactly what it is. The town grew at a bridge crossing. Geography determined its location. The valley narrows here. The river could be bridged. Routes converged. From these practical origins, a city grew. Innsbruck hosted Winter Olympics twice, 1964 and 1976. The ski jumps are visible from the city. Dramatic structures on mountain slopes. This is ski country. Winter sports. Mountain tourism. Alpine culture at its most developed. But Innsbruck is also a working city. University, government, services. Not just tourism. Real economy. Real life. People living and working in the mountains. We bypass the city on the A12, the Inntal Autobahn. This motorway will carry us westward along the Inn Valley to the German border. Past Innsbruck, toward Kufstein, toward Bavaria. The A12 follows the Inn Valley westward. This is a different geography now. We're not climbing or descending dramatically. The valley is broad. The river meanders. Mountains frame the landscape but don't confine it. This is the Inn Valley. Productive land by alpine standards. Agriculture, small industry, tourism. The communities here have resources, space, connections. They've prospered. Hall in Tyrol passes to our north, an old salt mining town. Salt made it wealthy in medieval times. The mines operated for centuries. The word Hall relates to salt, as does Salzburg further east. These mountains contain salt deposits, essential commodity in pre-refrigeration times. Schwaz appears ahead. Another mining town. Silver this time. In the 15th and 16th centuries, Schwaz was one of the world's largest silver producers. The wealth was extraordinary. The mines financed Habsburg power. Eventually, the silver depleted. The mines closed. But the town remains. The valley continues westward. We're following the Inn downstream. The river will eventually turn north into Germany. But our route, the A12, continues west a while longer before turning north. Vurgel Junction appears. Here, the A12 splits. One branch continues west toward Salzburg and Vienna. Our route turns north toward Kufstein, toward Germany. This is the main Munich connection. The valley narrows. Approaching Kufstein, mountains close in again. This natural constriction made Kufstein strategically important. A fortress overlooks the town, guarding the route. For centuries, this was the border. First between Tyrol and Bavaria, then between Austria and Bavaria, then between Austria, Hungary, and Bavaria, now between Austria and Germany, though Schengen has made it largely symbolic. Kufstein Fortress is impressive, even from the motorway. Medieval origins, expanded over centuries. It was conquered, besieged, changed hands multiple times. Now a tourist attraction and cultural center. History preserved. We cross into Germany. Bavaria. The landscape doesn't change abruptly. We're still in an alpine valley, but administratively, we've entered another country. The A12 becomes the A93. Different road number, same pavement, same direction. The valley continues. We're following it toward Rosenheim. The mountains gradually lower. We're approaching the Alpine foothills, the transition zone between high Alps and Bavarian plateau. Small Bavarian towns appear. Oberaudorf, Niederndorf. Architecture shifts slightly. Still alpine, still mountain villages, but with Bavarian characteristics. Painted facades, Baroque churches, the cultural landscape reflecting Bavarian Catholic traditions. Rosenheim is a junction point. The A93 meets the A8 here. The A8 runs east-west across southern Bavaria, from Munich toward Salzburg in one direction, toward Lake Constance in Switzerland in the other. It's one of Germany's major routes. We merge onto the A8 heading west, toward Munich. This is a busy motorway, 6 lanes in places, heavy traffic even at night. Munich is a major economic center, Bavaria's capital, and freight moves constantly in and out. The landscape continues to flatten. We're on the Bavarian plateau now, gently rolling land, farming country, forest patches, small towns. This is prosperous rural Germany. The Alps recede behind us, still visible, a wall of mountains to the south. But we're no longer in them. We've crossed them, Venice to Munich, over the spine of the Alps, via the Brenner, an ancient route, made fast by modern engineering. Munich approaches. We see the glow increasing. This is Germany's 3rd largest city, major industrial center, BMW, Siemens, media, technology. Munich's economy is strong, diverse, globally connected. The A8 skirts south of the city. We won't enter Munich proper. The motorway system, the ring roads, allow through traffic to bypass the urban core. Efficient, necessary. Cities can't have all transit traffic flowing through their centers. We pass Munich's airport to our north, one of Europe's major hubs, Lufthansa's second base after Frankfurt, connecting Munich to the world. Even at this hour, lights indicate activity, aircraft taking off, landing. Airports never sleep. Past Munich, we continue northward. The A9 now. The Munich-Nuremberg motorway. Our final stretch. The A9 is one of Germany's oldest autobahns. Construction began in the 1930s under the Nazi regime, part of Hitler's Autobahn building program. The history is complicated, troubling, but the infrastructure remains. This stretch, Munich to Nuremberg, was among the first completed, opened in 1939. Over 80 years of service, rebuilt, widened, modernized, but following the same basic route. The landscape is quintessentially Bavarian: rolling hills, mixed farmland and forest, small towns with onion-domed churches, hop gardens in some areas. Bavaria's beer culture depends on local hops. Ingolstadt passes to our east, a significant city, Audi's headquarters, the auto manufacturer's main production facility. Thousands employed there, cars assembled, engines built. It's a company town in the best sense, where one employer anchors the local economy. Ingolstadt also has history beyond automotive: medieval walls, a university, Baroque architecture. But modern prosperity comes from Audi. The factory complex is vast, visible from the motorway, a testament to German industrial capability. The A9 continues north. Traffic remains moderate. Some trucks, some cars, early morning, people starting their days, trucks arriving for dawn deliveries, the rhythm of commercial life. The countryside here is productive, fields cultivated, forests managed, small farms intermixed with larger operations. This is southern Germany, where prosperity is visible in the landscape, in the neat villages, in the well-maintained infrastructure. We're approaching Nuremberg, Germany's 14th largest city, population over 500,000. A city with complicated history, medieval glory, Nazi rallies, Allied bombing, post-war renewal, now a modern economic center. Nuremberg's medieval old town is famous. City, walls, castle on a hill, half-timbered houses, Christmas market, Lebkuchen gingerbread, bratwurst. The city cultivates its historical image, tourist destination, cultural center. But Nuremberg is also industry. Siemens has major facilities here, pockets of specialized manufacturing, services, media. It's a working city, real economy, not just historical facades. The A9 approaches from the south. We're entering the city's motorway system. The Nuremberg Ring, multiple motorways converging. A3, A6, A9, A73, all meeting here. This makes Nuremberg a logistics hub, central location, excellent connections in all directions. Our destination is approaching. The freight terminal where these pallets will be unloaded, perhaps north of the city, in an industrial zone. Modern warehouses, loading docks, forklift traffic, the infrastructure of distribution. The pallets will be unloaded, counted, inspected. Any damaged pallets will be pulled aside for repair. The good ones will be cleaned, stacked, ready for the next job. Within days, they'll be allocated to new customers, loaded with new goods, sent on new journeys. And our Volvo, having completed this leg, will be assigned another load, perhaps south again, back toward Italy, or east to Czech Republic, or west to France. The truck never stops long. There's always another load, another journey, another destination. We've traveled 762 kilometers, from Venice, over the Brenner, through Austria, across Bavaria, delivered empty pallets to where they're needed, kept the supply chain flowing, done our part. The journey is complete. The engine will soon be silent. Tomorrow, or rather today, it all begins again. Thank you for joining both of these journeys. Rest well.